Hello everybody, welcome back. So today we are going to review the second stage of the revolution, the radical revolution. This is where we will see prominent figure Maximilien Robespierre come to power and lead the reign of terror over France. A couple of the major events here, we will have France declares war on Austria, Prussia, Britain, Holland, and Spain. So we'll be looking at how the events in France are impacting the rest of Europe. We will have the execution of King Louis XVI by the guillotine in 1793. And then March of 1793, Robespierre leads the Committee on Public Safety and the Reign of Terror begins. And then by July of 1794, the Reign of Terror ends with the execution of Maximilien Robespierre by the guillotine. So this is a very bloody stage of the revolution here. As we get to the radical stage, also can be a little confusing, so this could be a good video to go back to and help us understand these events a little bit better. So really quickly, just to kind of look at how are these events being viewed around Europe specifically. When we're looking at the King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette being brought back to Paris, they do try to escape and they are caught and escorted back. European monarchs are watching France in 1792 very suspiciously. They are very concerned about what is going on and they fear that they will lose their own power. And then we see France begins declaring war preemptively on these other nations to establish their own dominance within Europe. So we're seeing European monarchs concerned about how Louis XVI is being treated and handled, and how the people have really rose up in France at the time. Now, Louis XVI will be executed by the guillotine. He will be put on trial, and Robespierre will make the famous statement, "You have to kill the king so that the revolution can live." So when we're looking here, it's the way that the Third Estate views that there is no way that the revolution can be successful without getting rid of King Louis XVI. King Louis XVI tries to make a short speech before his execution, saying that he hopes that his death will make the people happy, but he fears as though it will bring further chaos to France. And it will do both of those things. So we looked at this political cartoon here of the severed head of Louis XVI, looking at the impure blood that falls from his severed head, and recognizing that this image is going around Europe, and other monarchs are very concerned about how Louis XVI was treated. As an absolute monarch, to be beheaded by his own people is very concerning for other absolute monarchs at this time who maybe didn't become those enlightened despots. After Louis XVI has been beheaded, we have the rise of Maximilien Robespierre, who leads the Reign of Terror. So that kind of R sound is what you want to remember as a little trick to help us to remember Maximilien Robespierre leads the Reign of Terror. Now, briefly, we want to talk about what is the Committee on Public Safety and what was the Reign of Terror. So the Committee on Public Safety was a new committee set up in 1793, and it was aimed at providing defense of the nation against its enemies, both foreign and domestic. And that domestic part is a really key detail. It was also tasked with overseeing the existing executive government that had been formed, and it was charged with defending the revolution. It was determined to defend the revolution. And that's what leads to the Reign of Terror, because we see the Reign of Terror was to destroy internal enemies and conspirators to chase out external enemies from French territory. Now, what that leads to is mass executions of the people. So we have this pie chart down here where we see the majority of the people being executed by the guillotine are the working class and the peasants. These are the Third Estate members who started the revolution, and now they are the ones who are being executed by the guillotine. The clergy and the nobles still making up a portion of the executions, but they are not the target any longer. The target has now shifted to those that are not revolutionary enough or viewed as counter-revolutionary. And this causes the problems that exist in France, where the revolution seems to have gotten out of control. And that is where we will see Maximilien Robespierre will be executed himself. He and 21 of his friends went to the guillotine. After his execution, the revolutionary armies restore peace. They hope that the National Convention, now controlled by the moderate and conservative representatives who had condemned Robespierre, could prevent outbreaks of radical demonstrations of the revolution. So this is a dramatic shift here. We go from Robespierre leading the Third Estate against King Louis XVI to Robespierre leading the Reign of Terror against the people to try to absorb the power and to consolidate the power. And then we have the final act here. Robespierre is executed by the guillotine himself for becoming too radical and counter-revolutionary and counter to the will and good of the people. So the second stage of the revolution is filled with thousands of executions by the guillotine, starting with the guillotining of Louis XVI and ending with the guillotining of Maximilien Robespierre. So lots that happens here, lots of violence in the second stage of the revolution.